verse 12 onwards, he starts talking about wisdom. Verse 12, "Then I turned my thoughts to consider wisdom, and also madness and folly. What more can the king's successor do than what has already been done? I saw that wisdom is better than folly, just as light is better than darkness. The wise man has eyes in his head, while the fool walks in darkness." But then I came to realize something, that the same fate overtakes them both in the end. So what he's doing is, here he starts talking about wisdom and folly. And wisdom is, of course, doing what is wise, and folly is doing foolish things. Pretty much trying to just do the things that you want to do without thinking them through. And wisdom is doing the things that are right, that are correct, according to this world, right? Okay, so he says, so I tried both. He tried being wise, he tried being foolish, he tried even doing what crazy people did. Maybe this would be something that would have purpose, is what the teacher is saying. So he tried all these. But he realized pretty quickly that being wise is much better than being a fool. Because the wise man knows what he's doing and why he's doing it, and the foolish person just does whatever, and they don't even think about the future. But the problem was, yes, wisdom is better than foolishness, but in the end, they both have the same fate. And what that fate means is they're both going to die. So no matter if you're wise or if you're foolish, in the end, you die, and everything you've done comes to nothing, according to, the teacher. Verse 15, "Then I thought in my heart, the fate of the fool will overtake me as well. What then do I gain by being wise? So I said in my heart, this also is meaningless, for the wise man, just like the fool, will not be long remembered. In the days to come, both will be forgotten. Like the fool, the wise man also will die." So he makes it very clear in the second part, pointing out that if you're wise or if you're foolish, it doesn't really matter, because in the end you're going to die. And within a few generations, everyone's going to forget who you were. Because that's what it is when we're human. I mean, let's be serious here. No matter how great you are, you will be forgotten. And it didn't matter if you were a wise man and a great man, or if you were a foolish person and an idiot. Everybody gets forgotten over time. And that's what the teacher is saying. So I guess foolish and wise don't make a difference. I mean, this is what he is saying. Now, he's going to shift, right, from talking about wisdom and foolishness. He's going to shift to toil. And toil is a favorite word of his. That means to work, to create, to do things. So now he's going to see, okay, so there's no point for us to do pleasure and just to become rich, okay? Then he talked about wisdom and folly. He says there's no point to be wise and just to, become wise for the purpose of becoming wise. So now he says, okay, what if, let's test and see if working, if struggling in life, trying to achieve something in life is worth it. And then he answers in verse 17. Verse 17, "So I hated life because the work that is done under the sun was just grievous to me." All of this is meaningless. It's just chasing after wind. I hated all the things that I had worked so hard for under the sun. Therefore, I must leave them to the ones who come after me. And who knows whether the person that comes after me will be wise or a fool? Yet he will control everything that I have worked so hard for, that I poured my effort and my skill and my abilities and my life into. All of that I worked for, someone else will have. So this also is meaningless. So my heart began to despair over all the toilsome labor under the sun. For a man may do his work with wisdom, with knowledge, with skill, and then he has to leave it to someone else who did not work for it. Yes, this too is meaningless, and it is a great misfortune. What does a man get as a result of all his hard work and the anxious striving? with which he labors and struggles under the sun. All his days, his work is just pain and grief. Even at night, his mind does not rest. And all of this is meaningless. So, the teacher looks upon the work that people do, and he points out the reason why everything is meaningless. He's not just simply saying it's meaningless without giving you a reason. Every single time he says something is meaningless, he explains why. Now he says, look at a person who has struggled, who has worked hard to build up something. For us, look at Ambani or something like that. They struggle very hard. He has answers. They worked very hard. And this is what he's saying. People work. There are people who really struggle to earn money, to make like if you have a small shop, to make it a big shop, to make it a company. People struggle. And he says, but what does it matter? Because when you die, you can't take it with you, right? When you die, you give that company to someone else. That company goes to someone else. And you don't know if that person is going to be excellent or not. It's someone else, it's not you. So let's look at companies. Okay, there's big companies in the world. And every company started with someone sweating, someone struggling, someone trying very hard to become big. Okay, and that person dies and maybe his children get it. Maybe the children also struggle. But by the time it goes to the grandchildren, they never struggled. They never had to work a day in their life. They were always rich. Someone else comes along and says, I'll buy your company. They just give the company to him. So all the thing the grandfather or the father worked for, it all disappears. All gone. And that's what he's saying. When you work in life, when you struggle in life, in the end, you're going to die and someone else will get it. And this makes everything pointless. There's no point. There's no meaning. It's all meaningless. He also says not only that, the other things were just pointless because they're a waste of time. He says this is not just pointless. It is a great misfortune, which means it's just not right. It's evil. This is not right. It's not right for people just to die. And then the people after them, people that don't really care, that never worked for anything, them to get it and be able to enjoy it. He says that's not right. These people struggled. They spent their time when they were awake. They pain, the toil, their mental pain. But in the end, it's all meaningless because they have to give it away to someone when they die. So then he switches to verse 24. He says, okay, so if this is all true, in verse 24, he's going to give a little result. So if all this is true, so what? And he's going to give his opinion. Verse 24, a man can do nothing better than to just eat and drink and to find satisfaction in the work he does. This, too, I see, is given to him by the hand of God. For without God, who can eat, who can drink, who can find enjoyment? To the man who pleases God, God gives wisdom, knowledge, and happiness. But to the sinner, he gives the task, he gives the job of making wealth and creating the wealth and storing it up so that when he dies, God can hand it over to the one who does please God. And all this is meaningless. It is just a chasing of the wind. Okay. So the teacher points out this. Okay, look, if everything is meaningless, then what we should do, we should eat, drink, and be satisfied in what we work. Because, we need to eat, we need to drink, so let's enjoy that, what we have to do. And when we do work, instead of trying to chase after money, instead of trying to chase after power, because all these things are meaningless, let's chase after satisfaction. So do a job that makes you satisfied. Do a job that you're like, yes, this is good work. I like doing this. So do a job that you find satisfaction, you find purpose in. Do that. Okay, because God is the one that gives you what you eat, what you drink, and the satisfaction that you get in your job. So if you're getting that, it means God is happy with you. Okay, so he says, if you please God, God will be happy with you and God will give you wealth, knowledge, happiness. But if you don't please God, then all your efforts, everything you do, all the money you make, everything, you're just going to make it so that God will hand it over to someone else who he is happy with. And this does happen. If you look at some of the wealthy and powerful people in the world, eventually all their money goes to someone else. And that's what he's saying. Who does it go to? Well, the people God chooses. So in the end, God is the one. So all your struggling and all your trying to do everything is pointless because God's in control. And that's the point here he's trying to make is he makes it a little bit here, but in verse 12, in chapter 12, he's really going to make the big point. But here he's trying to say everything is pointless. So instead, do the things you do, eat the food, drink what you're drinking, enjoy that, like the work you do, choose a job that you find enjoyment with, and continue in that way. Don't fight to become wealthy, to become powerful, because it's all going to go away and God is going to give all that to the person he wants to. So in the end, God's in the one that's in control. So enjoy life.